time travel like they did in season 6, and then just never bring it back up again. It's like Chekhov's gun. Chekhov's gun. It has to be brought up again.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I would say time travel is as inevitable as Clegane Bowl. Like it just has to happen.
It has to happen. And what also has to happen at the start of the show, silly beginning. But hey, everybody, welcome. Welcome to everyone in the live chat. Welcome to the pre-show. I am here today with two very special guests. The Game of Thrones podcast. We have Carmine and Preston here to do the pre-show for this particular episode. We are live, and welcome to the live motherfucking chat right now. We have a lot of people. So you guys are going to lead the discussion in the chat. You guys ask us some questions, point us in some directions. We're going to talk about this episode 3, but I'll let these two guys introduce themselves. Carmine, welcome to the show.
Gracias. It's a pleasure to be. I always love live streaming with you, Phil. You're fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Carmine told me 2 seconds before the show. He's like, "No, you're hosting this, motherfucker. I'm not saying anything. You're taking over this."
Merci. Now we're talking about episode 3 of Cobra Kai, right?
Yeah, of course. No.
Wait, have you guys seen that yet, Cobra Kai?
I have. You better watch out, Carmine, because if we start talking about that, I'll totally forget about Game of Thrones and talk about how awesome season 2 of Cobra Kai is.
I'll start binging the hell out of that after Thrones is over, because so many people have been throwing so many shows at me to just binge after Thrones is over, like Tudors. I got a bunch of Italians in the fucking comment section of every one of my videos asking me, have you seen Sopranos yet? I have not seen Sopranos yet. I should watch Sopranos.
But there's something else though, with like the difference between like Phil and me watching Cobra Kai and or anything of that era versus you. Like there's a different sense to it. Yeah. Like, and I don't mean it in any sort of like derogatory sense. It's like so much of the show, or at least the first season, was about Johnny being like an old washed up dude who's like dealing with the fact that he's past his prime, right? And it's something you can't understand unless you're like of an age with him, you know? And there's like this meta narrative to it. Like, that like, I remember Karate Kid coming out and like it being so glorious at the time, and then now you're like, it's like you're old, and like Karate Kid is old, and the world's moved on, and things like that.
Oh.
Yeah, and the show.
Please stop saying that.
And the show makes you so aware of it. Like Cobra Kai reminds you of that constantly by looking at Johnny's journey, and being in that, it makes you feel like shit and wonderful with him at the same time. So yeah, I see what you're saying, Preston. It's gonna mean something different, almost in a jealousy way. I mean, I wish it meant what it meant to Carmine, but no, we're fucking, we're the same age as Johnny and Daniel said. We can relate to this kind of crap.
Yeah. So who knows? Who knows what'll happen to like Game of Thrones? Like, do you think people will rewatch Game of Thrones in 15 years, like worshiping it in the same way that they still worship, say, The Sopranos or The Wire? And like time has gone by, and those shows are still held in really, really good regard. Yep. But other shows have kind of disappeared. Like I loved Buffy and I loved Angel, and they were awesome, but I don't hear about people going, oh, I need to go back and watch like Angel, even though Angel was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
No. What you do hear is people going back and watching Firefly. Like I binged Firefly several months ago. It was a good show. I just don't understand the cult status around it. So I would assume like Game of Thrones in 20 years will have a cult status around it. The same way Lord of the Rings does. Lord of the Rings is slightly more popular than Firefly, I would say. But Firefly just seems to be hanging on despite only having one season. I would say it's probably Joss Whedon's most talked about show that he's ever done.
Yeah, there's something else with Firefly too, though, because Firefly like was never popular. When you were into Firefly and you knew it was good, it was kind of like your thing. I remember Conan O'Brien talking about SCTV. And SCTV, like I watched it, like I as a little kid, I used to like try to stay up until like 1 a.m, whenever it was fucking on, and just to see it. And I went back and I watched it, and it wasn't even that funny, but it was like yours, it was like your unusual thing. And when it's like your unusual thing, it's like a little more pumped up and hyped. And that's the thing with Firefly. Like Firefly's good. Does it deserve all of the praise that it has like decades later? I don't know. But
I would say it's good. I would love to have seen what they could have done with a few more seasons, but it's not masterful like I would say Seinfeld is. Like even though it's two different genres, Seinfeld's just a masterful show. in terms of comedy. Firefly in terms of sci-fi and action. Yeah, it's okay. It's cool. It's cool.
It's also like there was nothing. Joss Whedon hadn't exploded now with everybody trying to like copy him. Like now that you have Avengers and it was put out to a mass market of, you know, how we're going to do action and comedy and levity and drama, and that balance that everyone's been trying to copy now. Like if you saw Justice League was reworked by Whedon, but nonetheless, like everybody wants a Whedon-like movie. And I think Firefly was one of those unique things. They hadn't quite, you know, even though Buffy had been out for some reason, like there's something else with Firefly.
Yeah. I hate to say this, but because you guys are much older than me, and it's gonna sound really douchey of me to say, but I kind of feel old in the sense where I do miss those campy random television shows that would come on Channel 11 over here in New York, like Beastmaster or The Lost World. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like those random Andromeda.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I miss those shows, and I feel like Game of Thrones has really set the bar high for what needs to be, like, fucking awesome out there. Because no show is going to come as close to being this great as
don't they still have those cheesy ass shows? I mean, the thing is, time goes by so fast for me now. But wasn't there a Mortal Kombat series and a Blade series and all sorts of cheesy ass stuff like that?
I remember Xena
Warrior Princess.
You know, for some reason they stopped doing like medieval stuff. Like even though Xena and Hercules aren't really medieval, but they kind of stopped doing medieval at some point, and they just, you know,
they tried with that Fox one that was a musical. What was that called a couple of years ago? I'm blanking on the name of it. Anyone in the live chat might know what it is. It just got added to Netflix recently too. But yeah, they it seems like they're going away from medieval, especially once Game of Thrones came on the scene, because but it seems like afterwards now there's going to be a lot of series that try to match what Game of Thrones did with the Lords of the Rings series coming out, and
there's Nightfall and Vikings.
Yep.
Both Nightfall and Vikings, I would say, are deliberate follow-ups to Game of Thrones, trying to milk the fantasy thing.
Gallivant.
You know,
Gallivant. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you, Broke, in the chat. Gallivant. That was horrible.
Well, to be fair to Vikings doesn't have a blatant fantasy element like Game of Thrones does, but they sprinkle fantasy every now and then. Like obviously it's about Vikings and they worship Thor and stuff like that. You see Odin pop in very rarely, every once in a while during major events. You know, Odin or someone that's supposed to represent Odin. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a sprinkle of fantasy. And we're talking about like everything else but Thrones. All right,
Dr.
episode
Ford
3,
shows up, yeah. Two things that Romeo Cruz wants before he dies. He wants to watch the Game of Thrones ending and see a photo with Carmine's face.
I don't know who this Carmine with a K is, but I hope you see his face. But Game of Thrones episode 3, we don't have the title yet, but it's going to be the Battle of Winterfell.
You mean it's not going to be episode 70?
Yeah.
That's what they've been naming them all. Like it's when you watch live, right? It just says episode 68, episode 69, 70.
Wouldn't it be great if this episode was actually just all of them sitting around again, continuing the conversation? We had 80 minutes.
Oh my God. Like, where were we? Oh, right.
I'm so surprised you gave it a 6. You're out of your mind.
All of a sudden, Jamie's like, wait a minute, I forgot the last 3 gods when I knighted you. And he runs back. In the name of the maiden, I charge you with.
I still can't get over it, man. You gave it a 6. I can't get it. Phil, what would you give episode 2? I never asked you. What would you give episode 2?
I give probably a 7.5. Would be
7.5. Yeah, that's fine. I give it an 8 because I just loved it. The last 10 minutes were great. Where Podrick sings, it reminds me of Pippin. Come on.
My only issue with it, it's similar to what you were saying about it last week, and you said a couple of times the DLC element of it. I feel like when we have 6 episodes, you could have turned the first 2 episodes into a longer edit, 90-minute one episode, and edited a little tighter, and then move this on a little quicker if you were running out of episodes. You almost didn't need 2 introductory episodes in my mind, but that's just me being kind of nitpicky because we're running out of time and being panicky, like all the drugs are running out, man. I got to take them all quick, and because I just want it all now.
I mean, it's funny having and I'm going to try not to spoil anything, but it's funny having just seen Endgame and them handling like pain and build up and how efficient. I mean, even though it's a fucking long movie, I did feel that they were very efficient with their time in doing all of the necessary callbacks and pain and emotion and character development. And I just didn't feel that episode 69 was very efficient with time. I don't know. I did feel they were killing time, which is weird to be in the last season with 6 episodes left and feel like they're still killing time and spinning wheels. Like episode 68 and 69 are both still fucking killing time. But I don't know.
Tubbs in the live chat says episode 2 is the best episode of Game of Thrones where no one dies.
It is the only right. That is the only episode where no one's died, right?
Yeah. It's the best episode. Where
I don't know how they're gonna do Beautiful Death. You know what I'm talking about with Beautiful? Have you guys seen the Beautiful Death art?
No, I have not.
Oh, there's this artist who does and I think it might even be sponsored by HBO, but like he if you Google Game of Thrones Beautiful Death, he does a little piece of art of the most notable person to die in that episode.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, no, yeah, that does sound familiar.
Oh, yeah, he has a fucking website. By the way, speaking of which, Preston, make sure to link this this live stream on your thing.
I did
see this.
So we do have a couple of live chats. Angel B says Angel B in the house and also says SG1 hands down the best sci-fi show ever. And then we also have a super chat from Angel B says Preston sounds like those people you talked about in your video. He watches the show but still think you're the best, Preston.
Well, hate watching is the best. It's like oh, I'm gonna be really vulgar.
Oh, dude, you're in the right place.
Hate watching is like anger fucking. It's great.
It feels great. The Dragon Demand says the interesting thing about this episode was actually hearing interviews from Cogman about the writing process, admitting how D&D rewrote his episode to be more cinematic. Ooh, interesting. And hey, Preston, you criticized in your last review everyone focused on their interests after the battle, but isn't it something that they actually got right? One of the major themes of the book.
I mean, the themes are definitely there. Like, it's very clear that George R. R. Martin's like ending stuff is, or whatever he told to D&D in the multi-day conference was definitely in there. I mean, you could definitely tell, especially with Sam and talking about forgetting and what the nature of Bran and why the Night King is after him. Like, I mean, it was so obvious to me, being like, oh, yep, that's George R. R. Martin. And no, it's not that I don't like character development. I do. I do like all of the different characters sitting around talking to each other, and I guess the aspect of it that annoyed me was the nostalgia of it, as if there was some better time. Like I enjoy different types of characters meeting each other after years and years and years, and then figuring out what they were going to say. And I know that that's how D&D writes scenes. Like, I know D&D writes scenes in that they say, oh, these two characters have never met. What would they talk about? And then they kind of like, go forward with it. And I don't mind that as a way to go on how to figure out how to write a scene. Like, it is necessary that, like, lampshading is better than nothing. Like I don't get, sometimes I'm down about lampshading, especially with my character Shade of the Lamp, but lampshading's better than nothing. Like, the fact that Arya did mention that Beric used to be on her death list, for example, is very, very important. Like, he was taken off for no reason, but yeah, at least it's brought up, and that's better than nothing. It's better than Beric arriving and Arya saying nothing, or Arya not killing him, and everybody being like, wait, wasn't he on her death list? So I'm not saying there weren't great things about last episode. I gave it a 6.5, right?
No, you gave it a 6. You gave it a solid 6, which is atrocious. This one guy's here, hello there, which I'm assuming is an Obi-Wan meme. He heard from this other person that he thinks Game of Thrones will end the same way as The Hobbit ended, being written by Sam in the Citadel, calling it a Song of Ice and Fire. What do you think of that? Personally, I doubt they would do that, because that is exactly how Tolkien ended his stuff. And whenever anybody writes any medieval story, they're always in the shadow of Tolkien, and you always want to strive to incorporate some of the stuff Tolkien incorporated, for popularity's sake, like elves and dwarves and stuff. But you also want to try to move away from it and do your own thing, which is really weird. That's like, to use Preston as an example, that's like, making a Game of Thrones channel, seeing what Preston does, and wanting to do what he does, but trying to be as different as possible. If that makes any sense? Does that make any sense to anybody?
Right, no, it's like I don't know if you ever remember the first episode of Community. Is Donald Glover, like he's been wearing this Letterman's jacket from high school, and he's getting made fun of it, and he's like, I don't know what to do, and he's like, well, if Joel McHale tells him, like, well, if you take it off, it's for them. If you keep it on despite them, it's still for them. And there's no real solution to it, but yeah. But it's the same thing with like George R. R. Martin. It's not like his work is so heavily influenced by Tolkien, but at the same time, he's trying to do the exact opposite of Tolkien, which is tough. But it's all just linked together.
It's almost similar in a weird way, like we were talking about Cobra Kai, in the sense that George knows that he's compared to Tolkien, so he's aware of it and he can adjust accordingly. He wants to be different, but he wants to be talked about. Whenever he talks about him, he's like, of course people compare me. He's wrote the greatest thing ever. Blah blah blah. And he talks about that in that interview with Stephen King. They talk a lot about his comparisons to that, but he also talks about how different he is and how he's aware of that, and that's why I don't think it's going to be that kind of ending either.
That's an interesting thing to bring up. Stephen King and like whether or not you'll be a legend. Like when I was reading Dark Tower, and I started Dark Tower right before book 4 came out. And when I was reading it, I thought, wow, this is something else. This is going to be crazy. People are, and Dark Tower fans at the time were like, this is going to be epic. Like people are going to remember this. And then Stephen King fucked it up by writing really horrible ending to it all. Like books 6 and 7 are just kind of blah. And thus Dark Tower has kind of been ruined. I don't think it's ever going to be legendary. Which was a feeling you had like when you got through book 4, you're like, wow, this is something special. And then it goes downhill. And I wonder like when, if and when George R. R. Martin does not finish, if that's going to just affect everything and it's no longer going to be the thing. Like, can you fuck it up that much? Like, is it already good enough that it's going to be like, is it going to be Tolkien? Like in 50 years, are we going to be talking about Ice and Fire?
The book series, probably, in the sense from a literary standpoint. The television show, I think it all has to do with, from the mainstream standpoint of how it sticks the ending. A show like How I Met Your Mother, for instance, which had a lot of fanfare. I mean, it's a different kind of show. But then they fucked up that ending, and everyone talks about people don't want to go back and watch that show because it has a shit ending. The Sopranos is an example of where the ending was hit or miss for some people, but people still go back and watch that series. It's going to be interesting to think about it from two different directions, from it as The Song of Ice and Fire as a series, as a book series throughout, and Game of Thrones as a television show and how it gets compared with other TV shows.
Yeah, can it stick the ending? It's so important, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of shows had shitty endings. Seinfeld had shitty ending, but is it shitty enough to ruin the entire show?
That's really what it comes down to, because How I Met Your Mother, the problem with How I Met Your Mother is the ending wasn't bad. It's just that last season was bad.
Yeah, because it was not to go down a different rabbit hole, but because it was so shrunk, Carmine. They took a show that was really good with playing with time, and they made it all about 3 days, all about that damn fucking car trip. And it was annoying, and also, spoiler alert for that, the mother was really well cast, and how they chose to create the ending was sad and weird, and it was some bad makeup with the actor that played.
Yeah, I mean, had I done How I Met Your Mother last season, because they brought all these callbacks back, but they still didn't tie everything together. Like I thought it was going to be like, and the reason I brought up the three-way belt is because it was really significant in this and this and this. For meeting the mother, there was nothing really significant except for maybe her umbrella and maybe him being in like speaking in the classroom where he walked into the wrong classroom, because she brings those up, but those are about the only two things. So why was he bringing up all of this other stuff? Like they didn't wrap it up, right?
No, not at all. And I'm sorry for getting this off in a different direction, Game of Thrones fans, and we're doing everything but talking about episode 3. But Angel B says Game of Thrones will end with Gilly's baby entering kindergarten. Maybe
Jake LaFrance is like trying to romance me by saying the Leftovers ending was masterful.
Oh no! Why did you bring up the Leftovers?
Oh,
Leftovers is one of the most brilliant shows I've ever seen, and it's one of the most brilliant endings I've ever seen. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I just wanted to cry after watching the ending, and it was done in such a unexpected, perfect way. Like I was not seeing that ending. I was like, how are they going to wrap this up in a way that's going to satisfy me? And then they did it, and I was like, oh God, you guys are so beautiful. Oh, it was.
Just answer me this. I'll watch The Leftovers if you answer me this. Do they ever answer where everybody went?
No, not really.
No.
Well, they give you a possible answer, but you don't know if the character is lying or not. And it being uncertain that she's lying is such a theme of the whole show that it's perfect, because the whole show is a metaphor for our life and how we have religion, and we don't know what happens when we die, and so like we all believe to make dealing with the fact that we're all going to die is horrible. So a lot of people have these beautiful lies, these beautiful lies, and so the ending is her her telling this story, and you don't know if it's like a reality or if it's a beautiful lie, and that's the whole fucking metaphor for the whole goddamn series, and it was so perfect.
Well, to be fair, Leftovers was from HBO, based off a book, so like I said, I think Game of Thrones is too big to have that perfect ending Leftovers did, because Leftovers obviously is not as big as Thrones, and Thrones just has so many fans who want it to end a certain way, and it's just never gonna have that ending.
This is what I say, Carmine. Is there any way people aren't disappointed? Someone's not disappointed with the end of Game of Thrones.
No, there's way too many fans and way too many like talking heads with it. I mean. And here's the thing, though. Like,
do you think
George,
90% of fans? Do you think 90% of fans are expecting Jon to kill the Night King and then sit the Iron Throne?
Yes.
Yes, especially the more and I don't saying this is a bad thing. The people that are watching Game of Thrones more is like doing Game of Thrones got their pools on the guys that are on the 11 o'clock news. Game of Thrones, who's taking the Iron Throne? It looks like a snowy night. Like those type of people.
The snowy night. Well, no, it's just. I think I would feel better about the ending if George came out and said, "Yeah, that's the ending I wanted." But I think I would feel even more amused if George came out and said, "That's not the ending I had. That's just a show and only ending."
Preston, you were talking about this a little bit in one of your videos. Is he hedging his bets? You think, or is he waiting? Is he just a walking hypocrite that really just kind of waiting to read the room and figure out what he wants to do here?
No, I mean, it's like, look, George R. R. Martin is like when say you've procrastinated, like doing your homework. We're back, we're all 15, 16 years old, right? And you've got a paper to write. And your parents are like, oh, did you start that paper? And you're like, you haven't started the paper, and you actually have no idea what's going to be in the paper, but you're like, no, I've got it. It all makes sense in my head. It's all cool. And your parents are like, are you sure that paper's due tomorrow? No. I totally got it. That's George R. R. Martin. Like they're like, oh, so the ending's going to be the same. No, it's not going to be the same. Oh, so it's going to be completely different. I don't know if it's going to be completely different. Like George doesn't know. These are unwritten books. Like I think he's just like he doesn't fucking know. Like everyone's like, so you have everything planned out? Oh yeah, no, I totally have everything planned out. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Shade of the lamp for the Iron Throne, said someone in the live chat. Here's a question for you, Carmine. What's the stupidest thing that you guys realistically fear or think might happen tonight?
Oh shit. I really hate the whole I really don't like the whole like the skeletons are gonna like pop open the stone slabs and the crypts and attack everybody. However, there is one thing that someone did tell me. It's that really amazing artist guy. I can never pronounce his name. One second. He explained it to me a while ago. Artuch Altanaz. He's a fantastic artist. He's the guy I talked about in the podcast. He has a theory that he believes the Night King, one of the big reveals is that the Night King is a Stark, and he knows the ways inside the tunnels beneath Winterfell to get to the crypts. Because we're all expecting the Night King to come from the air and attack Bran in the Godswood from like his own dragon. But no, he's actually going to come and attack Bran from underground in the crypts.
Yeah, I guess the stupidest thing would be like Ned coming out of his crypt and like chasing people.
But how would you know that was Ned?
Yeah, without the head.
A headless skeleton? I mean, like, how would you know it's Ned?
Using it to bowl people. He's got the head and using it as a bowling ball. Preston, this is from Oh My, That's Unusual. Ask Preston if the show Night King origin and the implied book Night King origin can merge, i.e. the children's weaponization versus in love with a hot white.
Huh. I'm trying to think of like, I mean, sometimes when I hear the stories of the, I'm playing with the idea of whether or not all the stories and legends that we hear in the book are actually like time travel stuff. Like it's really stuff that's happened in the future. And things like that. I'm like trying to reconcile, like, can the whole Night King, like finding, a white-skinned girl and then trying to sacrifice people and having the Night's Watch bring him down, like, can that be reconciled with the obsidian in the heart thing that we've seen on the show? I don't know. It doesn't seem like they can be reconciled, or if they can, it's in some sort of complicated way I haven't thought of.
Yeah. Some part of me wonders how much a Night King or a central force for the White Walkers will be a factor in the book, as much as it is in the show, where you needed to put a face, have a single, similar to the Borg, where you had to make a Borg queen, because people need to have a single enemy to focus their attention on. I don't know. I wonder how different the whole thing with the White Walkers is going to be as a entity in the books. But.
Like, I mean, I don't think the show is going to have time to explain Craster's Keep.
Yeah, not at all.
Which is a huge mystery. Like, what's going on there? How did that get set up? But I don't know.
MX Zeal says, if Jon and the Night King are 1v1, I am done. Jor is going to... And the Dragon Demand says, Martin has a plan. Slap Preston like the scene from Airplane. Get a hold of yourself, man. Get a hold of yourself. He has a plan. Gecko says, George has known the ending of A Song of Ice and Fire since the mid-90s. If he's capable of writing that ending now, 10 more years won't help. Misty says, do you believe the theory that George R. R. Martin has already finished Winds of Winter and that he's already writing A Dream of Spring? I think there's parts of Winds of Winter that are finished. We've heard the chapters. I don't think those will be changed from the ones that we've heard. I just think there's certain things that he hasn't figured his way out of, and he's procrastinating. I think it's similar to what Preston was saying. He does procrastinate and probably writes a lot and then trashes it because he reaches a brick wall, and then he's back in time again. And I think he's probably been further along at times and then trashed a bunch and starting again because it has to make sense to him.
I mean, that is how he writes. The fact that, like, on this really irrelevant question of who arrives in Slaver's Bay first, to hear that, like, he delayed, A Dance with Dragons for pretty much a year, dealing with, like, well, I tried it with Quentin arriving earlier, and then I tried it with him arriving later, and you're like, really, on that, like, on that issue, like, the issue of who arrives first, Quentin, Victarion, or Tyrion, like, you spent a year on that issue. Man.
And that really should have been season 5, though. Thinking back about it now, I told you both this before. I'll say it again. Season 5 really should have been a race to see who could get to Dany first. Yeah. They should have introduced Victarion and had like a whole thing between Victarion, Tyrion, and Quentin, seeing who can get to Dany first and try to get in there and see what they can do. Maybe be aware of each other's like whole race or something. It really should have been like a tense moment like that.
Oh, we have a analysis of Thrones question for the panel. What are the chances that the Night King will change his mind about destroying humanity if he came face to face with the immense beauty and intellect of the rightful queen of Winterfell, Sansa? I have a response to that analysis. Here we go.
They call her Sansa, Sansa, bitchy and whiny. No one you see is annoying as she. Go fuck yourself, Sansa, Sansa, always stink-eyeing. When is she dying? We can't wait to see.
Thank you, Pete Slap Music. Sorry about that, guys.
So one thing that has surprised me as the show has been going along is how they're really just double downing on the fact that the others are straight up evil, which is something that I've seen people. I've never asked George this question, but I sat next to a woman who directly straight up asked George, and she was whispering to him. It was just them two and me eavesdropping. And she asked, George, I was really wondering, are the others really like straight evil, or is there like more complexity to their society and like what they want? And he said, I'm sorry, I can't answer that. You're going to have to keep on reading. But then I've heard other times people say, what's the best like analogy to what the others are in modern day society? And he said global warming and or climate change, which, when you think of something that's straight up evil, climate change is pretty straight up evil and mindless, and so it's tough. Like when I read the books, I'm like, oh, like if you take the other's position, like you take it from the other's point of view, man, some people came in, they stole your baby. They attacked you with an Sam attacked you with a dragonglass dagger and stole a baby that was promised to you. Like you could totally say, like from the other's perspective, like they've been wronged. But the show hasn't gone that direction at all. The show has just straight up made them the most evil thing on earth. Like they are here to erase humanity, not just kill us, but erase our very existence. Which is surprising considering that like George R. R. Martin held back that answer to this woman. Like when she asked, like, are they straight up evil? He's just, you got to keep reading. So I don't know.
Maria Lady says, reading the scene with the children of the forest and the dragon glass in the chest, I always believed that was like a healing. And the man was totally agreeing, like giving a cord to an amputation. I don't know about that. He looked pretty freaking scared to me.
Yeah, he looked pretty scared to me too. I came up with the idea this week that like maybe the others are like a computer and they're like, and the children, it's very iRobot where, they're like, okay, the children of the forest said, kill all humanity, and he was like, oh, that means kill the very memory of humanity, which means you too, children of the forest. And they're like, oh no, we misspoke,
That makes more sense. I mean, the one problem I have with the whole White Walker thread in the show versus the books is that the books will go more into detail and explain more about it, but in the show they just seem kind of like machines of destruction that went a little above and beyond. It's like in iRobot where to preserve humanity you have to destroy some of them, right? So destroy the invaders, destroy humanity, and they're taking it a little too seriously. I just wish they went into more detail about that instead of having to make us guess, But I will say I do like the one thing they are doing, which is making it to where the Night King won't speak, and I hope they stick to that because that's what Dan Weiss said, I believe, that the Night King will not say any words this season. That he'll be just a silent antagonist.
To me, that's to answer the question from earlier, the worst thing that they could do would have the Night Kings drop down off a dragon in front of Bran and then start talking like the smart gremlin from Gremlins 2. Hi everybody, this is the Night King and I'm here to talk to you. Have some stupid voice.
So a lot of people are bringing up a good point in the chat about Forbidden Planet. So George R. R. Martin's favorite movie is Forbidden Planet. There's a lot of themes and references to the movie, but essentially the plot is these aliens created this machine and it got out of control and it ended up killing their society. But and so there's this idea, but it's controlled by like their subconscious, so they don't even know what they're doing. So it could be that like the Night King is Bran's subconscious or something like that. Because I mean, essentially, like at least in the book, like Stannis ends up killing Renly with what seems to be his subconscious or his id. There's this famous line: "You forgot about the id," and so it's like, is the shadow baby really Stannis's id? Because he has the memory of it, but he was asleep the whole time. Could Bran be doing the exact same thing? Like his id is killing everybody. Maybe the Night King is nothing but Bran's time traveling id.
Carmine, this is from Oh My That Is Unusual. Do you think they brought up the ongoing Night King versus Three-Eyed Raven to justify the weird choice of a 1,000-year-old prequel?
I do like that when Bran says that there have been other Three-Eyed Ravens before, and that this has been a long-ass conflict. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that the prequel will show us the beginning conflicts of the Three-Eyed Raven versus the Night King, because I don't really think... I really am not interested in a Long Night prequel. I'm really not. I've said this to Preston before on the podcast. I fucking love Fire and Blood. They could do an anthology series with Fire and Blood. Every season is one chapter of this book. And I just really don't care about the White Walkers. They're an interesting thing, don't get me wrong, but the most interesting thing in the books right now is everything but the White Walkers. Like Theon escaping from Winterfell with Ramsay hot on his tail.
But you bring up a good point, Carmine, that HBO's existence has to keep going. So they're going to start littering season 8 with like prequel references, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I don't care about the White Walkers in the books. What's really interesting right now? Well, Victarion is sailing to Marine while crazy stuff and shenanigans are happening. That's interesting. We discussed this before. I have to edit it. The House Dane conflict going on in the books right now, where Obara, Areo Hota, and Balon Swan are going to go hunting for Darkstar. That's interesting. The chaos and insanity that's going to happen in the Citadel with Euron sailing in there while Sam is there, and supposedly it's going to be something Krakens.
The Sand Snake coming over there too. There's a lot of cool stuff going on there.
Mm-hmm. And everything that is awesome, that is really super interesting, that's happening right now in the books has nothing to do with the White Walkers at all. And I don't know. It's just I really want to see more political backstabbing and scheming versus frost monsters. I mean, it's cool, but at the same time, things that are happening in Fire and Blood are way cooler right now.
I mean, at least for me, and I know this is true of like Carmine and Phil too. But like the thing that made Game of Thrones different and made me fall in love with the series was the political backstabbing, the Littlefinger, the Varys, what they're doing, the scheming, and we haven't really gotten that. Or anything that really makes sense from season 5 on. Like it's been fairly straightforward.
It should have, and that's where the Dorne thing should have just not rewriting the entire show, but that's where Doran should have been a focus character like a Varys or like a Littlefinger moving forward in Dorne, and had that take over for the political intrigue aspect when you moved into something else. And this show should have been 10 seasons long and really have taken the time. And I don't want to use this as an opportunity to bash. We're coming upon a really awesome episode tonight, but and part of the reason why we're not talking about the episode tonight is the only thing to really talk about tonight is who do you think's gonna die? Who do you think's gonna? It's a big battle. We all know what's gonna be happening tonight in general. I don't think the Night King's not gonna be there. The Night King is gonna be there. I don't know. I don't think there's any. I think we're gonna see the Night King tonight. We're gonna see the White Walker force, and I don't think
Littlefinger's secretly alive, and he's gonna come out. And he's gonna make a deal with the Night King. And there
you're turning Carmine on. Stop it.
Yeah. I would love that. Littlefinger comes out of nowhere, stabs Arya. Holy shit! This is the greatest show of all time. Oh my god.
You did not see that one coming. Oh, like that leak could have ever been kept.
Oh my goodness. Phil, could you ask Preston if George has enough time to finish this whole series with only 2 books?
Oh, I don't think so. No, there's too much. I mean, I don't think he could do it. It's not in his writing style anymore. I think he could do it in 3. I don't know if he even has the time for 2 books though. But I mean, just knowing what he planned and knowing what's out there plot wise, like realistically, like the Winds of Winter, we already know that the first quarter, at least, is going to be dealing with all of the battles. And then after that, you've got, maybe Dany will head towards Westeros, and she'll land near the end of the book. But then after that, you have to deal with her and the second dance of the dragons between her and Aegon, which would take, an entire book by itself. And so, I mean, unless you just you end with the invasion of the others and you do that in 10 pages, I just can't see it being finished in 2 books. I mean, the next book is the battles and Dany's return at the end, I imagine. And then the last book is, it has to be her second dance and preparing for the others' invasion. But then where do you fit in the others' invasion? So, I mean, it's got to be, you need 3 books to finish it, but I just don't know what's going to happen.
Because we're expecting the arrival of Aegon to be something great. What if I think what was going to happen with Aegon and the Golden Company in the books is going to be what's probably going to happen with them in what's probably happened with the Golden Company now in the show. The Golden Company arrived in King's Landing to help Cersei. So I think in the books they're gonna align with Cersei to some extent, and that's what we're gonna see is the Golden Company with Cersei, or even them by themselves fighting Dany all over the place in Westeros, like we saw in season 7. Where instead in season 7 it's Dany versus Cersei, the Lannister army. In the books it'll be Dany versus the Golden Company all over the continent.
Like you're thinking that they've wrapped up all of the Cersei battle. They made it a Cersei battle, Cersei versus Dany, but it's going to be an Aegon versus Dany.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know.
Second Dance of the Dragons. Yeah.
I just don't know where they're going to fit it. I mean, somehow cram that into the end of the Winds of Winter.
And Euron's out there too. How's Euron going to take place into his? I don't know. There's so much to do.
You're right, and doesn't right now she's in the Dothraki Sea. Didn't you say she has to go to the Shy? Doesn't she also have to go back to Karth for some reason? Well,
I mean, she doesn't have to go back to Karth, but I would think that you'd want to bring Quaithe back into the fold.
You got to.
So why not? If she's on but she can go fairly fast now that she's going to be flying on dragons. But still, that's a chapter, so you have a minimum 1 chapter of her in Vastoth Rock, minimum 1 chapter of her in Karth, minimum of 1 chapter of her back in Slaver's Bay and Meereen, and then maybe 1 chapter of her in Volantis. But there's not that much room because there's all these other characters that need space. The only way I can even think about fitting all of the different storylines in the Winds of Winter is to not have any Jon chapters at all. You need space.
Yeah.
So cut Jon. So I don't know how they're going to do it. There's how I would do it, but that's clearly not the way things are going. Because if I were going to do it, I'd leave Jon dead. But but Jon's not going to get left dead. And somehow they're going to have him back. Maybe, I don't know, maybe resurrected right at the end of the Winds of Winter. But
that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, that would be the best course of action because it does seem like the reason he did kill off Jon in the books is to give a lot of these other characters extra room to maneuver in Winds of Winter. And then maybe 1 or 2 point of view characters will bite the dust, and then we can go back and resurrect Jon and bring him into this. But yeah, you're right. It does seem like he can't finish it in 2 books. There's going to have to be a 3rd one.
Yeah, I mean, even with Wheel of Time, it took a very concise writer 2 books to finish that off. So
we got a couple more super chat ones, and I agree. I think there's just way too much to do if you want to do everything properly. Unless these books are 1,500 pages each at least, which who knows they possibly could be. David says, "Yo guys, quick question here: did the show omit the White Walkers in Royce fight to have it there in HH for Jon, where he kills the White Walkers in the Night King's and gets the Night King's attention? What will Jon have to get the Night King to accept this challenge? What will Jon have to do to get the Night King to accept a challenge?"
So you're referring to? I think he's referring to what happened in the. Correct me if I'm wrong, Preston. It's been ages. In the prologue to Game of Thrones, don't they fight that Royce Night's Watch guy and they kind of laugh at him?
Right. He like pulls out his sword and he thinks they're laughing at him.
Mm.
So did they admit that so they could have it there in Hardhome where Jon kills the White Walker and the Night King gets his attention? Did they omit that section in the show?
Huh. I don't know. I think they added Hardhome because they needed a reference to the White Walkers, and they needed more action in that season, and so they added Hardhome just to give us like some things for Jon to do. Because a lot of people would say that the big weakness of A Dance with Dragons, the book, is Jon doesn't do anything and Dany doesn't do anything, right? So they wanted Jon to do something, so they had him go to Hardhome. I think that's the only reason what really happened is we hadn't seen the White Walkers in a while. Jon wasn't really doing anything, and so let's give him something to do. I don't know if we're going to see something similar to that in the books at all. What's the question with the Royce fight? What is I guess I'm having trouble.
Yeah, me too. It says did the show omit the White Walker and the Royce fight to have it in Hardhome for Jon where he kills the White Walker?
Oh, I see. Because they wanted like, well, I mean, in Hardhome, Jon does like have a fight with a White Walker, right? And then he shatters it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the opening of Game of Thrones, the series, like wanted to create more mystique and mystery when it came to what the others looked like. And when you're writing, it's easier to do that because if you say something like, oh, you know, these beings are crystal or whatever, you're like, well, what the fuck does that mean? You know, you're only telling a little bit, even though you have the scene. Well, if you're showing something on screen, you have to reveal a lot more, and they didn't want to do that. So I think that the fight between Royce and the White Walker is omitted just on mystery. You don't blow your load immediately with monsters. Everyone kind of knows that's like the number one rule of a monster movie.
That's what you don't show it. Like with Spielberg said that with Jaws, you didn't show it till like 45 minutes.
The very end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they needed to do that to not show him. Just on building that mystery. And you've seen it redone this season. Like, we haven't really seen the White Walkers except like one shot from the back of their head at the end of the second episode.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to recreate the mystery again. That was completely shattered for us in season 7 because we just saw way too much stuff. Too much White Walker.
Yeah, White Walkers
last season.
Clumsy White Walkers. Morning Mayan says Tyrion for the final king. Yeah, Tyrion is going to be the final king. No, Tyrion's going to see his death. So I guess we should get into some sort of death predictions or something. Who do we think is definitely going to die? I think pretty much everyone that had a point of view moment in the last episode dies. I think Jorah's a definite. Grey Worm or Missandei dies.
What did I tell you, Preston? Like it's by the laws of it's by movie laws. Apparently, you ever see the movie Commando film?
Oh yes, of course.
With Schwarzenegger, and when the general is posting those two guys to protect Schwarzenegger's house, the general also tells Schwarzenegger they're like a couple of days from retirement. Remember that part?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Missandei and Grey Worm are already talking about retirement, what they're going to do after this battle. That automatically means by like entertainment logic that he's dead. Like he's completely gone. Jorah has nothing else to do. This is what I told Preston on the podcast. Yeah. Jorah's story is done. His story was to deliver Tyrion to Dany, and I guess come back for the Fellowship beyond the Wall. And I just don't
I would say the Fellowship. I would say the Fellowship was just pity stuff for him. They're like we have a random action scene. We can throw some nobodies in. Why not? Like every character where they kind of had nothing for him to do. They're like, throw him north of the Wall. You know, like the Hound, Barrack. You know, why not? Because we got nothing else for them to do.
Charizard asks, Preston, is Melisandre returning, or are they just going to forget about her?
She's totally returning. Yeah. She's got to bring some. I think she's going to bring some zealots from Essos in for some more fodder for the final battle.
Yeah, I think they're just waiting for a few of the cards to get knocked off the table before you add another deck. And I think when a bunch of our handful of our quote unquote side characters are gone, Melisandre is going to be kind of that second wave that comes in the second half, or maybe even she may not come back to the final episode for the final push of some, but she'll be there.
Yeah.
Well, Davos needs to survive so he and Melisandre can have one final confrontation.
Yeah, Davos.
I don't know. I think Davos might be on the table to die. I think Davos, Jorah,
Beric.
Gendry, Beric. Beric is like 500% dead. There's no way Beric is surviving this one. If I'm wrong about this, I will eat my shoes. And be like, I'm so sorry. I was so very, very wrong. But Beric is the one where I'm just like, he's so fucking dead. Like, come on. But yeah, Beric, Gendry, Jorah, and Davos, I would say, are the ones that are like most likely to die.
Any of our main characters die tonight? Any of the big ones? The wolf. I was gonna call her Wolverine. The Arya, the Jaime.
No. I would say that Jon, Dany. I would say Jon, Dany, Sansa, Arya, Jaime, Tyrion are all safe. I'm 90% sure Theon's safe.
Yeah, I think Theon's safe too. Brienne, she's a cusp. She's a swing state there. Brienne may go either way.
I still think Brienne's gonna survive. You know, D&D like being really nice to Brienne. Nothing bad happens to Brienne. It's just I'd say Game of Thrones is entourage for Brienne. Like, it's just wish fulfillment. Like every episode, like you're like something bad might happen to Brienne. Nope. Everything goes perfectly for
Wasn't
her.
she supposed to get like a gnarly like scratch on her cheek or something from the books? What was that? You know what I'm talking about?
She had Biter ate a piece of her face. He just ate, and then it got like massively infected. So he just like ate a piece of her cheek.
Does the Hound survive?
Yeah, he has to survive for
Clegane Bowl.
Yeah. So the Hound unfortunately has to. And all of these things are unfortunate.
And I think Theon survives because he has to kill Euron, right?
He has to face Euron. I mean, unless they're gonna make Yara do it, but I think he still has to. Ooh. I think he still has to.
We have a really serious question for Carmine. Will Gilly survive, Carmine?
Fucking hope not. God, I'm so fucking sick of Gilly. She should not have any scenes. Why are you giving her scenes?
So this is the thing with Gilly. So I would say that there is no way they're ever going to kill off Gilly because it's Sam's whole family thing. But on the other hand, the actress is clearly like very pregnant and probably didn't want to film or very many scenes because she's like ready to burst.
Yeah, she's ready to pop.
So I wonder if they are just like, fine, we can kill her off because the actress needs to go to the hospital like right now to have a child.
We got a couple of super chats from David. Panel, I won't try to theorize crazy, but what if Arya is too good at killing White Walkers and the Night King decides to deal with her personally, and it's him stalking her in the castle halls? That is possible. And Panel, what if Shireen 2.0 gets killed and Davos has to burn the little girl to kill her? Since we all know he isn't a fighter, will it break him? So, any of you guys have thoughts on either of those questions?
I don't think we're going to see Shireen 2.0. Are we? You think we're going to see her again?
No, but we knew. I feel so fucking bad for Davos. Everybody Davos has ever loved or admired is dead. Yeah. So I don't think the show is going to torture him. And as for the other question about the Night King stalking Arya, I really like that scene in the trailer. And to me, what it signifies is Arya going in over her head, being so cocky, and then getting smacked down a little and realizing, oh shit, this is serious. We need a moment where Arya just stops smirking for a minute. And
somebody wrote Arya re-kills Hodor. I would fucking love Hodor to appear. It would be brilliant. Do you think we're gonna even see like white giants again, or do you think they like forgot about them?
We have to. We saw them walk through the wall. They're not gonna go. No one will remember the giants, right? No, they have to do the giants, right?
I don't know. I'd say it's 50-50.
Do we see the spiders that everyone's clamoring for? Do we see
No.
No
spiders?
spiders.
No spiders as big as dogs.
I
in
hope
this
no
episode?
fucking spiders. I'm a punk bitch when it comes to spiders, so
dude.
I hope no spiders.
You'll be crying if you see spiders as big as
I
dogs.
do not want spiders as big as hounds.
There's an episode of The Brady Bunch you should watch if you've never watched it, where there's a spider. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. Okay, we have another super chat donation as we're running out of time. We've got a few more minutes here. We'll stay on and then we'll all get ready for this next episode. Panel. I want to. What if? I'm sorry. That's the same question. What if Arya's good at killing the White Walkers and the Night King decides to deal with her personally? I would love to see what Carmine's talking about. I hope we have time for something like that. I hope they're building Arya up in this way. All the stuff aside from her in Bravos, where she jumps into that magic healing pool and somehow her wounds heal. Besides all of that, I'm saying like the Arya that we've had in the last couple of seasons with the ego. I hope that's building up for some sort of fall. I will be very happy if that ends up happening in either tonight or in the next couple of episodes, that she faces something she can't just magic fight her way through.
I think that one running through the hallway is just like out of context. I think she's going to be cocky. I think she's going to get chased by a White Walker like briefly, and then she's going to like stab him with like her special dagger, and he's going to shatter.
She's going to do her end move. She's going to put in the Mortal Kombat code and do like a backflip and kill a White Walker from behind. Yeah.
And then fatality. And that'll be it.
Aria fatality.
She'll be like, chill out, or whatever.
Remember when I said I'd kill you last? I lied.
I love that movie. It's like great.
It's so good. Hello, Phil. I'm just saying hi, but every time I'm saving recordings to Game of Thrones, binge it all at once. No spoilers. Goodbye. Oh, good to see you, Kaylana. Lots of love to you. I will be going to see the Deep Space Nine documentary very, very soon. Okay. Do you? The show ends with a scene of Edmure Tully sitting in a cell, going, hello, anyone? Do we see Edmure again before the end of the series?
I would like to see all the lords and ladies that are alive in charge of the realm, because this show really, I don't know if the books will do this, but this show really fucked a lot of them in the ass. I think the only lords that are left are Sweet Robin and Edmure Tully. Everybody else is kind of done. The question of succession in the Iron Islands is still in question, whether it's Euron or Yara. But if you go down, like, the Reach has no lord. Stormlands have no lord. We have no idea what's going on with the Stormlands. Dorne, no idea what's happening in Dorne. Everything's in chaos over there.
They still exist. I mean, they're we hear about Tyrell cousins. They should be ruling, but we know they're not. It's just like everything is just Cersei's area now, and everyone's like just kind of dealing with it.
The Stormlands is the one. So we've seen almost. I was thinking about this yesterday. We've seen almost every single major stronghold on the continent, with the exception of Storm's End and Sunspear. But I don't even think Sunspear exists in the show. I just think it's just the Water Gardens.
Yeah, it's the gardens.
It's the city of Dorne in the kingdom of Dorne.
With one family. There's only one family in there too. It's only the Tyrells. Oh, not the Tyrells.
Yeah.
Only the.
And everybody is completely cool with the Lord's younger brother's ex-girlfriend taking over.
Yeah, everyone's chill. Everyone's backing her. Dorne will not be mentioned again for the rest of the series, probably.
That's probably true. Yeah.
See, and that's one of the spoilers that I would be okay with someone spoiling for me and like letting me know, like, will we ever get to see Sunspear? No? Okay, I'm fine with knowing that information. I don't want to know who dies at the end. I want to know, like, will we see Storm's End? Will we, see Gendry taking, over?
There is a chance that we'll see Edmure again, only because his name is still on the cast list. But I don't know. But he hasn't been spotted. There's been no like cast spotting of him like there has been of Sweet Robin.
Are we more likely to see Sweet Robin or Edmure? Probably because we saw Sweet Robin on the set somewhere. Probably Sweet Robin.
Yeah, we saw. So Sweet Robin was seen in the city near the set. So I would say there's a very good possibility for Sweet Robin. They have not. Nobody has spotted Tobias Menzies, but he's still on the cast list, so it's possible.
Now, before we wrap things up here, we got a couple more super chats. David says, oh my god, is Arya running from a raised Hodor or Rickon? What if those giants move as fast as the smaller whites? That's some scary ass shit. And then also, what if Benjen survives and travels south since there is a giant hole in the wall and he can pass now? Curious how Benjen and the Night King were blocked from passing. I think Benjen was ripped apart, but don't know what you guys.
Yeah,
think.
Benjen was probably ripped apart.
Yeah, I don't know what they would have done.
He's not a normal white. What would you call? Would you say he's like a fire white? I don't.
Something. But he said that he has a piece of dragon glass in his heart as well. From the Children of the Forest and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Someone says, I'll put my money that Gendry takes the Stormlands post-war. I think he dies. I think Game of Thrones is going to do... We're talking about cliche things, like if something happens, it automatically has to happen. Like them talking about living a happy life, eventually they have to die. Anytime a woman throws up on television, she's pregnant. Anytime someone coughs, they have tuberculosis or cancer or something. I mean, it's...
What? I mean, he Kyle Reese Arya, right?
Yeah, he did. She's
so
pregnant.
I mean, I think their child might take the Stormlands.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Or lead a resistance against the robots.
We all know you have sex once and you're pregnant. It happens. Of course, it happens. Hairless Oyster says, "How long do you have to breastfeed to permanently smell like spoiled milk?" That's a great question, Hairless Oyster, and I'm glad I'm Rod Burgundy and will read any text in front of my face. Oh my God, Gendry got the puss of death. I hope Zombie Rickon gets his revenge for all those a-holes that got him killed. And
that's the funny thing. You know how Arya has her death list. If she like called out Gendry's name like over and over and over again, he's like ironically has to die, right? Because he's like on the list. It's like Gendry.
He's gonna
Gendry.
They're gonna name the kid Kyle Baratheon. There's people in the live chat said Kyle Baratheon. He's been Kyle Reese.
He's been Kyle Reese.
The North remembers. But I don't know. I mean, we didn't talk a shit ton about this particular episode coming up. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't think there's much you can talk about for a pre-battle episode like this, except for just anticipating. I mean, we can talk about what we think the battle tactics are going to be like with the first scene. But I mean, all of that is
battle tactic 1: don't use your strongholds. Send everyone
inside.
Oh, you know what's funny, Preston? We actually did miss one thing, and I missed it too in the what you're missing video. It's the on the battle tactics. We see House Stark, Unsullied. I think Dothraki in there. House Targaryen sigil, House Stark sigil, House Aaron sigil. Did you know there was a House Mormont sigil there? House Mormont is actually their sigil. There's one stone for them for like the 5 people left in their house, and their stone is inside Winterfell. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that House Mormont is in charge of protecting the interior of Winterfell.
I mean, to be fair, that's what I'd do too. I'd be like, oh, I have a freaking 10-year-old girl like leading 5 people. I'm not gonna freaking throw her on the front lines, the last of her house, who's been super loyal. Like, you're not going to throw her like out to the to the people that die.
You're not going to send someone down to the Stark kid all alone to go face his death. You wouldn't do something like that.
I guess they did do that to Ned Umber.
Yeah, they did. And not Karstark, Umber. Yeah, I meant Umber. Yeah, I guess they did do that. Yeah. I screwed up. Dave, okay, last question here. So is that trailer shot of the Dark Room and the Dragon Breath shot for killing Cersei, attacking the Night King, a trap or melting the throne? So is that last shot of the Dark Room? I think they just have like 10 million stock shots of the dragon breathing fire that they can go to at any time. I don't know.
Oh no, but there's totally gonna be a scene where the Night King is coming forward and they're like, no, and the dragon's gonna come up and he's gonna breathe fire on the Night King, and they're gonna be like, we got him, and then the fire is gonna clear and he's gonna be unaffected. Like, that scene's coming.
Yeah, I mean, it was set up perfectly with Brent saying, I don't know, or will that kill him? No, I don't know. It's never been tried before. And I agree. That's going to be you're going to face, maybe that might even happen tonight. That moment might happen in tonight's episode where they think they have the Night King, they have him up against in a situation where it looks like they stopped him and they've knocked him off his dragon. He's on the ground, and both dragons, Dany and Jon, from double team him with the dragon fire, and he just walks out of it.
I mean, wouldn't it be fun? What would be really unexpected is if they kill the Night King this episode, and then the next 3 episodes are everybody just kind of like, what do we do now?
Let's go.
I guess we deal with Cersei.
You want to go to Dorne for a vacation? But some people are speculating. Is there any chance that the Night King is dealt with in tonight's episode?
No,
zero.
No, he's not. I do like what you said though. Like, they're gonna have him, they're gonna try to ensnare him, and then they throw everything at him, and he just walks out of it.
Yeah, he just like brushes his shoulder off. He's like, these, and makes some, and that's when he talks. That's the cheesy part. He makes a snappy Schwarzenegger one-liner about how he's you can't touch me.
It's like Thanos getting dealt with in like Avengers Infinity War, and then Endgame was just like some random Ant-Man adventure or something. Everybody like, what's going on? No, of course, like the Night King has to be dealt with in the last episode as the climax. That's just
honestly, I don't think it's gonna be the last episode. I don't think it's gonna be episode 6 of this season. I think it's gonna be maybe episode 5, because 4 is when they all retreat. I firmly believe Winterfell will fall and they're all gonna retreat. They even said Yara even tells Theon Dany needs a way out of there in case things go south. So that's definitely going to happen. Why mention it if it's not going to happen? Yeah. So yeah, episode 4, they're all lick their wounds. Episode 5 is where they all go and try again. Maybe it carries into episode 6, the final episode, and then probably the last half of episode 6 is them dealing with everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I see that David Granger brings up some like pretty awesome ideas on. So bringing back dead people that have already died for a scare is something that'd be pretty cool. Like it'd be pretty cool to see dead Hodor, or it would, even though it's it probably won't happen, like the dead Starks coming out of their tombs. But he's saying, what about the dragons from the dragon pit? Couldn't they like rise in King's Landing?
Form an Aerodactyl.
You'd have all these skeleton dragons,
Skeleton dragons. I think that's a little too Elder Scrolls.
Or I was thinking Pokemon with like an Aerodactyl or something.
Oh. But no, I see everybody keeps expecting zombie Hodor to come out of nowhere, and I hope they don't do that, because how many whites does the Night King have in his army? 100,000. And out of 100,000 whites that get through and try to attack our main characters, what are the odds of one of those being Hodor?
See, that's the thing I was thinking about I was like, the Night King's army is not actually that big. Like it's every wildling north of the Wall, essentially.
Which was 100,000.
Which is 100,000, right? Yeah. Not that many. And so when you're
not that many, what are you talking about?
Well, it's not that many when you talk about, like, in the book they were talking about fortresses being a force multiplier of about 50 to 1. So that if you had if you have 10,000 people in Winterfell, that's enough to fend off 500,000 people if you have enough arrows, and so like conceivably they if they stayed inside the castle and they didn't have to deal with dragons and things like that, they have more than enough protection to fight off this army of the dead. I once did a bunch of calculations about like Dawn of the Dead. Like if you were trapped at the mall in Dawn of the Dead, like how long would it take you to kill off like 1 million people, 1 million zombies? Like, could you do it? And I'd be like, okay, how many zombies can I kill in an hour? How many people do I have? Could I actually get rid of the army?
This would actually, I hate to interrupt you, but this would actually be a great video to do some calculations and discussions on, like, because the force multiplier thing, because like how secure is Winterfell really? It's one of the oldest castles in the realm. It wasn't. I don't think it was built to withstand sieges as well as like the Eyrie or Storm's End.
That's where they should be going. They should be going to the fucking Vale. Fuck Winterfell.
Yeah, right.
That's true too.
But at the same time, though, whites. I don't remember if I swear I keep thinking they can, but whites. It doesn't matter with whites. Like they can just, because when you have a siege tactics like that, you're expecting the soldiers to come out, like in the Battle of Blackwater, soldiers to come out and try to avoid arrows while trying to break down the door. But the whites are not gonna break down the door. They're just gonna run as fast as they can,
hold the door,
World War Z zombies, and go over the wall like that.
Right. It does depend on whether or not, and this is the same with zombie movies, if the dead includes people that have recently died, or if it includes everybody that's ever died. And so, can the Night King just pull out every grave of everybody that's ever died? Then he's got a freaking many millions more than just like 100,000, but.
And it's a shame they can't use the dragons, because I do like how they have to hold back the dragons, because we've seen the Night King's javelin throwing skills. What makes you think that any other normal White Walker general can't do the same? So they have to hold the dragons back in reserve for just in case purposes. So
they might. There's a chance. I think do you think they're going to lose another dragon tonight?
I don't think they're going to lose another dragon, but I think they will lose another one towards the very end of the final few episodes.
Because we got to use Cersei's dragon spears are going to get used again, right? Like they're in the freaking opening now. Like in the opening credits, Cersei's dragon spear. So
yeah,
I feel like
they keep showing that thing. They make sure they show that in the opening credit every time. You guys are amazing, analyzing tactics for a D&D battle. That's beautiful. Preston is really gonna hate Wolverine after tonight.
Oh God, can I hate her more? Actually, it's funny. Maybe just because I'm a contrarian, but Arya did not annoy me last episode. That much. So unlike previous ones, like I guess her sitting on a roof with the Hound and then going to have sex didn't bother me that much. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. She's gonna piss me off tonight because she's gonna be a little too badass.
Dragon Demand says 55,000 on an anti-Targaryen side at Field of Fire. Night King has a lot of zombies now, but for an entire continent, he has to split his forces. If the Game of Thrones is an RPG, then Bran took all his experience points from the ability to hold normal conversation stat tree and moved it to the ability to watch Dany and Jon have boat sex stat tree. And if he says to Arya sometime in the next episode, Arya, you looked beautiful last night. You looked by the light. Then we know Bran's a real creeper.
He hasn't said anything too creepy this season.
No. He
just stares at everybody like a creep. And what's oh god, I can't pronounce it. Aviv, he says, then why didn't they throw one in season 7, episode 6? He's talking about the White Walker generals. Maybe it just is the Night King is just super OP. Maybe he's the only one that can throw the javelins, but they don't know that. They're probably assuming that all the White Walkers can throw those fucking javelins.
I think it has to do with how much time you got. Like if the Night King is 8,000 years old or whatever, he's had a lot of time to practice javelin.
Yeah.
Those other White Walkers, they might only be a couple hundred years old, or maybe they're only 100. Maybe they're only Craster's kids, so maybe there's only 20.
Yeah, think about Groundhog's Day. Bill Murray got good at a lot of things, and we don't know how much time he had. You have all that time in your hands. The bigger question about the Night King, and I know this is an overdone question, and we can go down a whole other rabbit hole, but why didn't the Night King throw it into Drogon? He had a better shot.
It was all part of the master plan.
Yeah, whatever that shit. He had a clear freaking shot at Drogon. I mean, I don't want to end on a poor boy like that, but he did.
It was that's why that episode is one of probably the worst episodes ever, because even if you're a Game of Thrones diehard fan, apologist, douche, you can't argue as to when he has the javelin, he's aiming at Dany, and then he turns deliberately and throws it at something else. It would make more sense if fuck.
I'm just saying, even when my mother is that episode, even my mother is poking holes in. She's like, how did they get all the way back to Danny's island so fast? What happened? And I'm like, I can't explain it, mother.
Well, Preston, how do you say that fucking dragon's name that the Night King has? Viserion?
Viserion.
Every fucking time. See, it would have made more sense if Viserion, if he was aiming at Drogon and Viserion sees this and is coming right for him to take him out, he has no choice but to turn away from Dany and take out Viserion instead, otherwise he would have died. That would make more sense, but that's not what happened. All the dragons were super far away from him.
Bubba Husky has the answers. The white one, it matched his shoes and his belt. That's why.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that.
Oh my goodness. What if the crypts hold, and this is another one from David, what if the crypts hold, didn't the whites tunnel into the tree cave? They tunnel into collapsed tunnels of Winterfell. What if the moment between Jon and the Night King is reversed and the Starks rise and defend the crypts? I don't know. And the Walking David has an answer to you, Carmine. But Carmine, plot. Come on, Carmine.
Plot. Actually, I want to ask Preston something. I think you've mentioned it before. So the North has a bunch of tunnels, right?
Yeah,
tunnels underground.
The whole North is subterraneanly connected.
Love
supposedly.
you too, Tubbs.
Is Last Hearth connected to Winterfell?
Yeah, supposedly. Supposedly the entire North is connected because I mean, it's legend. We have no fact, but Gorn walked all the way essentially to Winterfell from north of the Wall, underground.
So that was the theory that amazing artist, I always fuck up his name, so I'm not giving him a try. That was his idea, is that the Night King, if he is a Stark, who's thousands of years old, he would know this information, and because the Night King fucked up Ned Umber at Last Hearth, he can just use the tunnels and go right under.
Yeah, and we're finding these subterranean caves and tunnels like simply everywhere in the book, at least. I mean, Ariana finds them in the Stormlands. The Brotherhood Without Banners finds them in the Riverlands. They exist in the Eyrie. All these tunnels and mines exist in the Westerlands and on the Iron Islands. It seems that either everybody dug all this huge network of tunnels during the Long Night, or there's some sort of pre-apocalyptic society that lived underground for a long time. George R. R. Martin loves stories about subterranean people and like tunnels and stuff. So the fact that he added this is not too surprising. But these tunnels seem to be not just in the north of the wall. Like the entire continent seems to be covered with tunnels.
Interesting. And huge thank you to David for all the super chat donations today. You've been fucking amazing. All the other people too. I want to make sure I wrap it up so we give everyone enough time to go eat something and relax a little bit before the show starts. But we're having so much fun with you guys in the chat, and you guys have been leading us in a great direction. So we went a little longer than normal today. Huge thanks for Preston and Carmine for inviting me to join them on streaming this year, this preseason or this final season, the pre-show. Next week we'll be on Carmine's channel to do this again, so make sure if you're checking this out and you're enjoying this, if you haven't, and of course you have, but if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to both Carmine and Preston's channel. You can find the links to their channels in the description below. So thank you guys again for having me on these things. I really do appreciate it.
Well, we're gonna have you on again for the last episode of the entire series. We're gonna be on your channel, so
right. So yeah, and I put that in the description box. But next week we'll be on Carmine's channel. Before episode 5, we'll be on Preston's, and then for the final, we'll be back here. So make sure you subscribe to all 3 of us for all that silliness.
It's so weird to just even say that for the final episode of this fucking thing. I've been doing it for so many years, and oh my god, I'm almost glad it's done, but at the same time I'm not, because I don't know, I'm just ready.
Do you want me to start singing, Carmine? You're getting all sentimental.
Do we have to play the sad? Do we have to play the sad songs?
Up in her hold, that would Jenny dance with her ghosts.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you the lyrics. I want you to record that. We'll make that like a Patreon thing. everybody who donates to Patreon, we'll get a MP3 of Preston. I'm being serious. You think I'm kidding? I'm being serious. We'll do a duet of Preston sing. Yo, we still need to do. I still want the idea. I still have the idea of like finding all the sex chapters in the books and having Preston read them all with that fucking sexy 80s porn music in the background. Preston, would you be down to do that?
Jeez, why not? I mean, it's just
Yes.
high in the halls of the kings who are gone, Jenny would dance with her ghosts.
Stop it.
The ones she had lost and the ones she had found and the ones she had loved her the most. God, the lyrics really drop off in quality after like the one line written by George R. R. Martin. So if anyone knows the lyrics, George R. R. Martin wrote the first lyric, high in the halls of the kings who are gone, Jenny would dance with her ghosts. And then it's all downhill from there.
Angel B said, "What will other channels do for clickbait now?" I have The Walking Dead still going. The Walking Dead, can still plenty of material with The Walking Dead. God, what is there? Well, Vikings is still a thing.
But I think it'll have to be new. Westworld definitely has some push with that as well, and but I think the Lord of the Rings series when it comes out will be huge for a while.
Yeah, it's got to be something. It's got to be like, does society always need like a huge unifying pop cultural experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like before Thrones, what was on HBO that was super popular before Thrones? Like True Blood. And before True Blood, what was it?
I would say that like Seinfeld, The Sopranos, and Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad had it for a moment. Certain shows have it for brief times. I think Mad Men had it for a half a second. Like certain shows get the attention of people for like a second and get that. But I think HBO hasn't had a huge one. I think Game of Thrones, aside from the fantasy aspect, aside from the Song of Ice and Fire, I think the most closely associated thing is The Sopranos, like where everybody, even people that aren't crazy TV fans or crazy fans of fantasy or the book series, are talking about Game of Thrones. I joke about it with the evening news, but no shit, like everyone's talking about Game of Thrones. My people I work for that never talk about it are sitting there going, no, Jon Snow is a Targaryen. Don't you know, Philip? Jon Snow's a Targaryen.
Well, that's what happened with The Walking Dead for like seasons 1 and 2. Remember that? Like
Walking
seasons
Dead was
1
like
and
that
2,
for, yeah.
everybody was talking about it, and then after season 3, it fell off a little bit because no one gave a shit. And season 4 is when everybody really stopped talking. Season 4, season 5 is when everybody kind of stopped talking about it.
Westworld is too annoyingly convoluted, but that's the beauty of Westworld.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Westworld will take off as much as I mean, Game of Thrones is something special.
Yeah, it is, and it crossed over. I think Westworld, and I talk about this a lot in my Westworld reviews. It's very much a specialized audience. It's not going to be a show for everybody. It has a high possibility of showing it to someone and going, "This is shit. I can't stand this. This is too
right.
bullshit."
But the question is can you have small talk with Linda from HR about it? And like that's like the measurement, right?
Yeah. It's true.
So, and to answer Angel B, yeah, that's what I meant. Like other channels, like what are they? Like, see, so Preston's a book guy. There's so much of the books that you could really just even do more stuff on. Like even after the show ends, Thrones is not over if you really think about it. Like you still have the books, you have the prequels. We need to finish Fire and Blood, and there's still we haven't even gotten into Dunk and Egg yet, which we might do as like after we're done with Fire and Blood. There's other like stuff like with Dunk and Egg that we might do.
There are channels that still talk about Dune, and like Dune has been over forever, and yet they're still talking about Dune. So
Watchmen is coming out. Yep. Someone asked me on I think it was Twitter if we're gonna do like the Mandalorian. Do you want to cover the Mandalorian? Preston?
Yeah, sure, Mandalorian.
Mandalorian.
I'm excited for that show. I hate to say that. It's the first Star Wars thing I've been excited for a while. And of course there's Picard coming out, and that's going to break the world. I'm very excited for the Picard series on CBS All Access.
Oh, right, because it's going to have Professor X in it.
Yeah, Professor X is going to be starring in it.
Oh, man. Craziness.
I'm excited.
Crazy.
And there's going to be a new adult Star Trek animated. I'm sorry, I'm bringing this down to Star Trek. But yes. So, okay, everybody, have fun for the next hour leading up to the episode. I will talk to you guys later. If anyone wants to check out my after show, I'll be on at about whenever the episode ends, like 20-30 minutes afterwards to babble about it. And you can definitely get ready to check out Carmine and Preston's reviews coming up sometime this week. So,
Preston, for the love of God, I mean, you had a head start last week, and you still didn't release it like a day or two after.
It was fucking 23 minutes long. You know how long it takes me to make?
Dude, he records all those voices. That's gotta take some fucking time.
It doesn't need to be 23 minutes long. It could be 11 minutes of you saying it sucked. It sucked. It sucked.
But it wouldn't be as funny. Oh god. Okay, David Granger, you got one more in. What if the Hound is resurrected by Beric and becomes the champion of fire? How awesome would that be? Could we get a zombie Hound versus a zombie Mountain in Clogranbo?
He'll need They'll have to keep his body around for Melisandre because only Thoros and Melisandre can do it. And they specifically said over and over again, Thoros is dead, so we can't bring anybody back now. They didn't protect their cleric.
I actually, the fucking irony of that, the Hound being the champion of fire, Jesus Christ, what a, and that's right, I keep forgetting about that. Beric in the books, he brings back Catelyn, so.
You never know. Yeah, you're right. Beric does bring back Catelyn by transferring his essence.
Mm-hmm. So you think you could do it here with maybe like
because
you keep saying Beric is gonna die this episode. Do you really think he's gonna die if he has to, revive?
Do you think the Hound would rather die or like? Well, I guess he's dead already. He can't prevent him from getting kissed.
But imagine that funny one line where he's like, "Fuck you, you fucking cunt! You make me stay alive because of fire." The one-liners there. I'm just not saying it right. It's somewhere in there. Ken Wood says, I'm already mad at Preston. He hasn't posted his episode 3 review yet.
I was so hoping the fucking 3rd episode would have leaked by now, and fucking hasn't, and that really irks me because I got started on it last time really early.
Yeah, they couldn't have leaked this one. I mean, last week's episode was great, but I wouldn't. This is the one you want to leak. Okay, everyone, I'll let you guys go. Everyone, again, thank you so much, and thank you to Preston and Carmine. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Woo.